this series of concerts and conversations has been so delightful because we get to hear directly from you about very specific concerts that you made the music for. And it's been enlightening. Knowing the stories behind the music just brings a different depth to your relationship with the performer, with the music, and I think it helps build so much excitement for everybody to get back in the hall, doing their work and enjoying it again. As I was looking through the recordings that you've done with Ars Lyrica, you'll have to tell me the name from the first one. Is Damigella?
Damigella, yeah.
Damigella. I did it wrong the first time.
It's fine.
So who's the composer of that?
That's Monteverdi, I believe. Yeah, it was part of the Scherzi Musicale that we did. And yeah, I mean, that the whole program was so much fun. I mean, Monteverdi's music is so good, and like, it's very tricky, you know, so it was like great to be able to be there as an ensemble. And it was one of those concerts, as you know, like pretty much all of them are, but in this one, it was like, you have to stay connected, you know, you have to stay on and know when it's going to be your turn, because the road maps tend to be tricky sometimes.
And how is it more tricky with Monteverdi than other composers?
Well, what happened with this specific Scherzi is that we actually could shape it in the way we wanted. So, like, you know, like one round is instrumental, the next one is only going to be one person, the next one is going to be the trio of vocalists. And so, like, we all had to be like really aware of where we were in the roadmap, so we know when it was our turn.
Ah, I understand. So other than just the orchestration of the piece, Monteverdi is tricky in general. The harmonies are different than what you're used to singing. What makes it tricky for you?
I think rhythmically it is a challenge, you know, to stay on top of it. There's a lot of syncopation, and as I say, yeah, I think staying connected, because, you know, he gives us a specific, you know, like a basic form, and then we can develop from that.
And how do you stay connected to your fellow artists on stage?
I mean, just by listening attentively to them. You know, I think at some point, I when I am not singing, I could say like I'm an audience member, but I have the roadmap there, so I can follow, you know, through what they're doing, and just listen attentively and enjoy what they do also, you know, and then like respond to that.
And how different is it to be able to do that when you're standing three abreast there on the stage versus when you're having to create that connection through across staging with an opera or something?
Well, this one becomes quite an intimate performance, because, as I said, it's like keeping the communication between the group, right, and within the group, instead of like just like taking it out there. It's like the audience is able to see what's happening, you know, in the intimacy of our little group.
And that's one of the things we love, especially about this recording, is being able to watch the reactions in your group as if we were standing right there on stage with you and sort of part of that connectedness.
Yeah, it's so nice to feed from that, you know, because what the person before me did, you know, sort of like led the way to the way I should respond to it. So it's all like a consequence, right? Like a feeding of energy from the past person to the next one.
And that's why the live performance is so important. You feed off the hall, you feed off the person who's there, and all of those different things. And somebody does a little something different that inspires you. And then what do you know? You're off and changing it up too, right?
Exactly. And it's so much fun to do that, you know, while, you know, staying focused and concentrated so you don't lose your path. At the same time, it's like very nice to feel that excitement and have fun as you make music.
Ah, what a great segue. So let's listen to the Monteverdi.
Yay.
We
How is it to connect with an instrumentalist like Richard Savino versus how do you connect with other singers? Because is it different?
It is, I don't know. I think it's similar. I think it's a similar experience. Um, Richard is so clear on the things he wants to do. We rehearsed only a couple times before the performance, but he had such a clear idea of what he wanted that, I think I was able to do what he was expecting, while at the same time bringing my own personality to the way I perform these songs. There were a couple of them that were set up in a like quite high tessitura. So I emailing him and saying, the songs are like pretty high. Is there any way you can lower them? And he said yes. But the thing with the guitar is that he had to tune. Like if he was to change the key, he had to retune before the song. So he asked me, if they're like really high for you, why don't you sing them down the octave, in the original key? And I did. So there's like a couple songs in that concert, and that I actually sang like at my lowest register, but he really liked them. And because they turned out to be pretty effective. And one of them is actually Prepárame la tumba, which was like really high. And I ended up singing it down the octave. And it actually like gave the perfect effect that we wanted, because that song was actually an example. It was towards the end of the program, which showed the time when Goya was sick and about to die. So this song is like, get my tomb ready. That's pretty much what I'm saying, because I'm about to die. And, having it at a low register gave it like even more darkness and more pain flavor to the song. So it turned out to be great. And I think we both were able to communicate really well. These songs have a very like folk and popular, it was like pop music of the day feeling. And so, I mean, they just come out very naturally, and they're short. They're like little gems of music.
Tell me a little bit more about that, about why it was, or what's the difference between a pop music sound from Baroque Spain versus the more classical?
Well, first of all, I think they're accompanied, by a popular music instrument such as the guitar, right? So that's what already gives them a lighter feel. They're not like, and the melodies are just very lighthearted. The words are simpler. The form of the songs is very simple and very short. I mean, those songs are, I think, a minute long or less. I don't know. So that already like gives it more simplicity in the way they should be delivered, I believe. So when we were trying and when we started rehearsing, I mean, they just came out very natural, because they don't need a lot of elements, just delivering the melody and the words as they are.
As opposed to polychoral Thomas Louise de la Victoria or something.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I also didn't want them to sing that high, because singing at a higher register would mean like bringing like more classical technique, right? Like vocal technique. And they shouldn't sound like that.
Ah, that is so interesting. Now I'm really excited to listen to these again.
We started with the song that it's very sassy, and yeah, like as I said, like all these lyrics have like such a like popular feeling and just like common everyday subjects. So there's one song about like comparing women with the strings of a guitar. Like if you tighten them too much, they're gonna break, right? They're gonna like just like jump out. And so yeah, like, and if you don't tighten them enough, they're not gonna sound well. So I don't know, it's like you have to get into like the mindset of the day to like understand and not be like, what is this about, right? So yeah, but yeah, that's one. And then there's a beautiful one. It was one of my favorite lyrics. This song, it's called Si dices que mis ojos.
Yes.
That one is such a beautiful romantic song. So this lady saying, oh, you're saying that you die when you see my eyes? Like, get ready, because I'm going to go see you, right? I'm going to go look for you. So you're going to see me, because if I don't see you, I'm the one that's going to die. It's such simplicity, like very short lyrics, but such a beautiful setting. And the melody is very beautiful too. That was one of my like favorite ones to sing. Then there's another one. All of them are so, and then at the same time, they're so passionate, right? Like, it's Spain, so why can't we ask for it? So yeah, the other one is like, talking about like whoever wants to be loved and not suffer, then they don't know what they're talking about, right? Because there's no love without suffering.
And we know that after being quarantined with our families for 4 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other one was, it actually talks about like love in jail, right? Like in prison. It's like, oh, I like that. It's like feeling a prisoner of love, I guess, if you want to take it poetically. Then the other one that I sang down the octave is Prepárame la tumba, and it's gorgeous. It's just like it's full of pain, like that. And then the very last one, it's called Cesa de atormentarme, and it's like, stop tormenting me, please.
This whole set seems very quarantine appropriate. Prison, tormenting,
roaches. No. I mean, this one is like exactly the memories, like what this song is talking about. Stop tormenting me, cruel memory, because I cannot forget about those happy times, those happy days. This is perfect.
Absolutely.
COVID-19 song.
I wonder if you would sing them differently after having been through this. I know you talked about that before. That
they would have an
you come back to a role, you bring your experiences. So this one for sure.
They would have an extra feeling of morning feel.
Las mujeres y cuerdas de la guitarra, de la guitarra, es menester talento, para templarlas, es menester talento, para templarlas, flojas no suelen saltar muchas, si las aprietan, y suelen saltar muchas,
I wanted to have a chance to talk to both of you at the same time because there are a lot of couples, I think, who make music together, but you have such diversity in the kind of music that you make, and schedules and all of the things that have to go together. So what's it like being married to another freelance musician student?
Well, it's definitely, it's challenging. It's great at the same time. Because we get to share very intense moments on the stage and in our daily lives. But you know, for me, I'm not the most organized person in the world, let's just say that. And for me to handle my schedule and another artist's schedule that lives with me, it's definitely a challenge.
How do you make it work?
Well, thank God for iPhones and technology and share calendars and all that stuff. Definitely communication is a key. Um, you gotta be able to come to a compromise as well. Sometimes there's come times in our situation where since we don't have family around or anything, and we have our daughter, where some of us one of us has to choose in between getting some work or not, or things like that. And it's been it's challenging to say no for us as well. I think both of us, both Ceci and I, are yes people. And that's hard to coordinate, because it's always kind of it's kind of tough to say no when you like what you're doing and you want to do it, but there are other responsibilities too that call you and call for your time at home. So those are mainly the things. But it pays off to be together in this. I'm glad to be married to another musician, because I don't think a person with a 9-to-5 job would understand many of the traits that come along with this career, and the rehearsals and the tensions and the nerves and the responsibility and the passion that goes with it if you really want to make it.
I love hearing you talk about those things, because I think, here you are sitting on my screen smiling, and we see you on stage doing these marvelous things. But the reality is that the preparation that goes into that, and the emotions that go into it, the stress, the endorphins, the adrenaline, and all of that, it can wreak havoc in your mind, can't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we handled that pretty well, mainly because overall, there are two things that we as artists care about. One of them is providing a good experience to the people that listen to us, and the other one is having a good time. We're fully aware of the blessing that it is to be able to have a career out of something that we love, and we don't let that those nerves or that tension overcome the ultimate goal, which is to provide and send a good message.
And that's so clear in the choices that you make about how you spend your time. You are a huge part of our outreach programming. And sometimes I just marvel at how it is that two people who are working at such a high level and are in demand throughout the city and beyond, and you're doing a degree, Ceci, and your parents, how do you find the time to prioritize doing programs like outreach that you do?
I think music is a matter of exposure. I think the radio and pop music just expose you to a particular kind of music, and the way social media and even YouTube and Spotify or Pandora works is it exposes you to what you already like and what you already know, and it gives you more of it, kind of framing you in a creative, in just one kind of music and culture and trends. And I think it's a matter of exposing people to things they've never heard or seen before, they didn't know much about.
And like as you said, I think it's important for people to know what goes beyond the looking good in a concert, or like always smiling for an interview. It is tough on the day to day, and for us that we are pretty active local artists. The fact that we live here and that we make a living here in the city of Houston means that we have to like stay connected, right? And like work and like do our homework pretty much every day with what is related to being an active artist.
But you still find time to not only deliver, but also imagine these incredible programs. Tell me a little bit about both Songs from the Heart and the project that you're working on for the Rothko.
Songs from the Heart was such an opportunity to bring to pretty much all ages the music of Latin America, and in a smaller setting, not too complicated, and just showing the instruments. On the other hand, also we give a theory, especially to younger kids, to the beginnings of music, the very basics and beginnings of music and sound. and kind of empower them to understand that music is something they have in them, that having voice and having a body to clap and stomp, and it's already, they're already musicians.
I was laughing because I was thinking about the video that we actually shared on Facebook of you with the mallets and the upside down bowls.
Yeah.
That was my toy. My first Christmas presents that I ever asked for was like a pair of timpani. Obviously, my parents couldn't afford that, but they bought me a pair of bongos, and I used to strike them with anything I could find instead of the hands, which is what you're supposed to do. And I used to use pots and pans and boxes, and in Spain we used to buy water instead of just the bottles. The bottle would come in these cardboard boxes, and I used to use those things as bass drums all the time. And it that right there, those bowls, that's me playing. That's a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. That was me.
I love it. The percussion is actually a really important part in the programming that you do for outreach, which I find fascinating, because if I'm putting together an outreach group, I'm thinking singer and instrumentalist and maybe a continuo player. The first thought that comes to my mind is not percussion. So, but you've created these amazing soundscapes. What's the name of the program for the Rothko that you're working on?
That is called Contemplation in Light. And yeah, that actually came out of, so, you know, I've always been drawn to chant. It's always, it's something that I always gave me, like spiritual relief, you know, and I like to think that all of us are spiritual person, whether or not we are religious people, we are spiritual people, whether we like, actively, you know, work it out or not. I think there's something within us that can always bring us peace. And so for me, chanting, it's just like, you know, the best way to pray or to meditate. And so I always had this in mind, you know, like, I think it's something that not a lot of people know about, and if they know it, then it's always like, again, in a religious setting inside of a church, you know, but it's something that we can just do anywhere, and it immediately creates a different atmosphere. So you know, talking to Jesus and, you know, coming up with, you know, things that we can do, we thought that this could be like a perfect opportunity, because the percussion provides such an amazing environment, you know, and feeling to the space. And we don't need that much, you know, like chant, as you know, within the vocal production is very simple. It was like one of the first ways people started to sing. And same with percussion. So it doesn't need, there's no need of like big production and like a big ensemble to be able to actually communicate something beautiful. And as we were saying, we think that this, like the purpose of making music and the purpose of our jobs should also have like a service mission and a service goal. So we think that this program, like, it's not only an opportunity for us to do beautiful music that we love and enjoy, but it can also provide a moment of solace, a moment of peace. A person that was there, she kept my name and she looked me up on my Instagram account and like reached out. And she asked me, you know, she told me how meaningful it was for her. You know, there at the hospital, you have people that are, you know, visiting families or taking care of someone that's there. And for them, we were able to provide like some relaxation, you know, and a moment of peace. And this lady was very nice. And she told me how
helpful it was for her to be there when we were performing these chants. And she asked me, when is your, like, where else can I go? Because then I was able to see, like, what's the effect of this, right? Like, people actually need this. We all need this. And it's so nice to that, again, that's the magic of outreach, that they don't have to come to a place for that experience. We are actually able to provide it and bring it out.
Even just seeing the short clip that we have from the hospital, which, like you said, were less than ideal conditions and was really just meant to be a quick documentation of what you were doing there. We in the office watched it multiple times because we were struck by its beauty. So it doesn't have to be on the stage. In fact, it's better when it's not, except for one time, which I just, the chemistry that happens on stage sometimes you just can't reproduce, and I think it happens because of that distance, right, between you and the audience physically. But I just delight in the Caccini performance with the two of you. And Ceci had shared with me that it was spontaneous that night and some of the backstory with that, but it was just the sparkle in your eye and the fun that you had. It was just the ultimate off the cuff delight. Tell me about that performance for you, Jesus.
That could have gone either way.
That could have gone so bad.
Because I tend to overdo things and it could be overdone. But that night, it was something just Matthew literally in the intermission just told us, like, just do something. And and we talked about it for like 30 seconds and just went out there and did it. And it was amazing. We I guess we have no shame. And but it was funny because okay. and it was just funny because obviously the way the lyrics in that piece, it's very interesting. So I thought it was ideal. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
And like, why not? Again, same thing. It's another way to get closer to the audience without really getting closer to the audience. But why not a moment of humor in an Italian, Renaissance and Baroque concert, right? Everyone was. It was really fun to do it. I mean, I always have great fun playing percussion in early music because I get to make my own parts, and I get to invent and compose in my own way. And I think that's amazing. It's kind of like a classical version of jazz. You need to not get out of the plate too much, but be free enough to invent without bothering the rest of the group and without interrupting the music. So.
Chi desia di saper che così amore, io dirò chi non sia se non dolore, che non sia se non dolore, che non sia se non timore, che non sia se non furore. Io dirò che non sia se non amore, chi desia di saper che così amore. Chi mi domandera se amor io sento, io dirò che il mio cuore è tutto spento, che io non provo più tormento, che io non tremo né m'avento, che io ne vivo ognior contento. Io dirò che il mio fuoco è tutto spento, chi mi domandera se amor io sento. Chi mi considera che io devo amare, io dirò che non può più sospirare, niente bene né sperare, né avvampare né gelare, né languire né penare. Io dirò che non può più sospirare, chi mi considera che io devo amare. Chi di amor crede la dolce gioire, io dirò chi non c'è amor fuggire,
Well, we're looking forward
we
to the
can't
next.
wait. We can wait
Yeah.
to perform in person.
I mean, we do miss this, and we were talking about it with a friend of ours yesterday. The fact that becoming artists means a lot to us because of the fact that we're part of something bigger than we are. Even when we're performing by ourselves, music is still bigger than us, and not getting to do that and show that it is tough. It's a way we have to communicate with people, and right now we're kind of taken away from it. So yeah,
Yeah, you have this huge gift to give the world, and you can't share it right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, we are very anxious to get you back on that stage, just as anxious as you are to be performing, I'm sure. So we're really looking forward to next season, and wish you all the best as you write out the rest of this. Thank you so much for sharing your time with our audiences today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.